At midlife, you're a grown-ass woman. And yet, many women arrive at midlife still quietly waiting for approval, waiting for circumstances to change, waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to want something different. But the truth is, that permission never comes from the outside. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. This show is proudly sponsored by Rumble and Rise. To find out more about joining Rumble and Rise, head on over to graceandgrit.com/ready to rumble. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. I have made a lot of changes in my career over the year. I would say some of the most significant changes have been over the past decade. I know myself well enough to know that I am well when I carve out a lot of time for myself, even if that means traveling by myself. And I will say that while that knowing came easily, knowing that I needed to pivot my career, knowing that I needed some alone time, I didn't give myself permission for any of it as soon as possible because I think I was waiting for permission. I'm sure you can relate to that on some level. And psychologically, this makes sense because women are socialized to prioritize harmony and approval and caretaking. Choosing yourself at any stage of life can feel uncomfortable, but it especially becomes true, I think, at midlife and beyond. It even feels wrong when you've been rewarded your entire life for doing the opposite, putting yourself on the back burner and prioritizing everyone else's needs. Research on gender socialization shows that girls are taught to attune to others' needs, often at the expense of their own needs. So by midlife, that conditioning runs very, very deep. But here's what I've learned from working with hundreds of women in this season. The discomfort of choosing yourself, the discomfort of nourishing yourself is temporary. But the cost of not choosing yourself, not nourishing yourself, compounds over time. That kind of discomfort is not temporary. So midlife is often the moment when the cost of waiting becomes clearer than the cost of choosing, because we also become very aware of our own mortality. We only have so much time left. So we start realizing that the approval we've been seeking may never come, and I am here to tell you it will never come from the outside. Or worse, we kind of start to freak out at midlife that permission will just never show up in any way, shape, or form. So you start to see the life you've been living was designed by someone else's expectations, someone else's standards. And you begin to ask, quietly at first, what if I stopped waiting? What if I just did this? It's interesting. I just got home from a trip to Texas, where if you know me personally at all, you know I go to Texas a lot, like every 4 to 6 weeks to see my dad because he has Parkinson's and he has an awful lot of challenges and he's declining quickly. And he said to me on this trip, we were talking about some things that my husband and I have been talking about forever in terms of just things that we've wanted to do and create. And my dad just looked me in the eye and he said, Courtney, you have to stop waiting. You just need to do it because the cost of not doing it is going to be so much steeper. And I truly believe there's so many things that my dad regrets for not doing sooner or never doing it all. So Glennon Doyle, brilliant author, says that no one is going to give you permission to live your life the way you want to live it. You have to give yourself that permission. So can you do that? Can you give yourself explicit permission? Say it out loud. This is something I need. This is something I want. This is something I am giving myself permission to have, to go after, to take. Treat it as a decision, not a feeling. I give myself permission to rest on the weekends without guilt. I give myself permission to want more or less than I did before, and that is perfectly okay. I give myself permission to change my mind. You don't need to justify your evolution. You are allowed to change. And I am a huge believer, I say this in every space and place that I teach, that health is truly an exercise in expansion. It's an exercise of expanding into evolution. If you're not evolving as a human, you are stuck. And stuckness creates dis-ease and ultimately disease. So as you evolve, you will have to give yourself more permission, and you are the only person who can give yourself permission. And I hope you extend yourself the grace of doing that, often and much. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, A Midlife Woman's Guide to Deep Health and Happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.